If you're mourning the loss of someone dear to you, please accept my deepest and heartfelt condolences. I feel I have to start by saying to someone watching this, yes, you will laugh and dance again. Yes, you will make it through this pain and live again. Sometimes grief throws many questions at us as we struggle to understand or cope with the loss of someone close and the pain that loss brings. Of these questions, perhaps the most painful one to deal with and which can make it difficult for us to heal is a question that guilt or regret asks. 3 years after my father died, my mother still couldn't find peace. I watched her go through emotional highs and lows that left me feeling helpless, frustrated, and now I'm ashamed to admit, sometimes even short and irritable with her. I just couldn't understand why she wouldn't move on. Well, that was until I realized we were both carrying the same secret burden that was blocking our healing, the crushing weight of guilt and regret. If you're grieving someone you love and no matter what anyone says, you just can't seem to move forward, if there's a voice in your head whispering, if only I had done something differently, could I? Should I have done something differently? Please stay with me. I carried that same guilt for 25 years before I finally found my peace and freedom. Let me start my story by telling you something about my father that is important to give context to our pain. My father was a deeply private man, a true introvert. His weekly routine was almost sacred. Come back home from work on Friday and don't step out again until Monday morning. That was his rhythm, his peace. Until later on in life when he started attending church on Sunday mornings. But even then, he treasured his quiet weekends at home. But my mother, the complete opposite. She was a member of every society, every group, every committee at church. There was always something happening every weekend. A meeting here, a function there, a celebration somewhere else. You know how it is. And on the 4th of November 1995, there was another function, a family funeral in another city, which was 2 hours drive away. But it had to be an overnight trip because it wasn't safe to travel those dark, unlit roads at night. And true to character, my father categorically refused to go. But after some, shall we say, persuasion and maybe a bit of emotional encouragement from my mother and other family members, he agreed to go, but with one condition. He would leave early evening so he could drive back home in daylight. I was 23 years old at the time and the only other person who could drive, so I borrowed my father's car to run errands between the hotel we were staying and where the ceremony was being held. That I wanted to leave at 6 p.m., so I promised to be back in time so he could leave as planned. But due to so many reasons, I was late, over an hour late. And when I finally returned with the car, my father was ready to go. My mother's best friend, one of my friends, 2 neighbors were traveling with him to go back home. That said, he would take the country lanes, the shorter route home. But I was worried. Those unlit roads were notorious for armed robbers, so I convinced him to take the motorway instead, the safer route. Or so I thought. Dad took my advice, and he never made it back home. The truck ran across his car at an intersection. 3 people died that day. My father was just 54 years old. For several years afterward, I carried one thought that wouldn't let me have peace. They died because of me. If only I hadn't been late. If only I had returned the car on time. If only I hadn't convinced him to take that route. If only. But here's one thing that I didn't know at the time. My mother was also carrying her own secret guilt. In her mind, he died because of her. She had pressured him to go to an event he never wanted to attend. And my sister, she had her own regrets too. She had had an argument with my dad that Saturday morning before we left, and she never got to apologize. Her last words to him were angry ones, as were his to her. We were all grieving the same man, but each of us was drowning under a separate silent burden. And this is sometimes the overlooked hidden pain and grief. It's not just a loss itself, it's the relentless voice that whispers, if only I had been there. If only I hadn't said that. If only I had done that. Maybe if I did something or the other differently, something more, something less, they'll still be alive. They died because of me. And that guilt, it becomes a wall between you and you're healing. You just can't receive comfort because somewhere deep inside, you've convinced yourself you don't deserve it. It took me 25 years, 25 painful years to break free from that prison. And I had to do three things, three incredibly difficult things that helped me heal eventually. First, I had to renounce the guilty verdict I'd passed on myself. I had acted in good faith. I gave advice based on genuine concern for his safety. The outcome was beyond my control. I had to stop playing judge and jury, pronouncing myself guilty of their death. And number two, I had to reframe the narrative. My father didn't die because of my advice. He died because a negligent truck driver wasn't paying attention. I needed to see the situation clearly. This was an unfortunate tragedy, not a consequence of my actions or choices. And number three, I had to accept a hard truth. We all have an appointment with death. And when that time comes, circumstances align in ways we cannot predict or control. There was nothing I could have done differently that would have changed the outcome. The same process helped my mother release her guilt, and my sister found her peace too. But letting go of 25 years of self-blame, forgiving yourself when you have been your own harshest judge, that's not easy. If you're watching this and you see yourself in my story, if you've been carrying the weight of the if onlys or a regret that's crushing you, you might be wondering, well, that all sounds good in theory, but how do you actually do that? How do you just let go of guilt you've carried for so many painful years? Well, that's a fair question because honestly, I couldn't do it on my own. I tried for 25 years and failed. I tried logic, I tried self-therapy, I tried just moving on. None of it worked. What finally set me free was discovering something, a truth that unshackled me. In the next video, I'm going to share exactly what that truth was and how it can set you free too, no matter how long you've been carrying your burden. And if this resonated with you, please watch part 2 because you don't have to carry this pain alone anymore. I'll see you there. Grace to you as you heal.